People in the Scottish Highlands say that the lochs can learn your name, not through magic, not through curses, but through listening, and then you'll hear the whispers. Perhaps you hear your name while crossing a bridge at night. Perhaps it's spoken in the voice of someone you miss. Or perhaps you convince yourself that the wind can sound like anything if you're tired enough. In the mist-soaked lochs of Scotland, where the water is older than memory and far hungrier, people whisper of shape-shifting spirits, beautiful horses, dripping strangers, voices that lure travelers toward the shore, creatures that carry you but never where you intend to go. This is the Afterveil, and tonight we meet the Kelpies. In Scottish folklore, a Kelpie is a water spirit haunting rivers and lakes. Its most famous form is of a beautiful horse, standing alone near the waterline, coat glistening like black glass, mane dripping like strands of moonlit thread, eyes reflecting light that isn't there. But when someone reaches out, their fingers fuse to its hide, their legs lock against its body, and the Kelpie gallops straight into the depths, carrying its victims into the cold, crushing dark. But the horse is only one of its faces. Kelpies can take human form as well. A handsome stranger with wet hair, a pale woman standing under a bridge, a figure whose reflection ripples even when the world is still. Look closely, and you might see the horse beneath, for these spirits shift into whatever you trust near the water. On the surface, Kelpies were cautionary tales. The lochs in the Highlands are deep, freezing, deceptive. Parents needed a warning sharp enough to keep the children from wandering near the water, and for good reason. But beneath the warning lies something else, far older. Some legends claim the Kelpie is the loch itself, a living piece of the water, a reflection given form. Where it walks, the air chills. Droplets fall from its mane that never reach the ground. Its footprints fill with water instead of pressing into the soil. One modern account comes from a small town near an old stone bridge. A woman walking home at dusk heard her name whispered from below. When she looked down, she saw her reflection, and another one besides it. On the Isle of Skye, locals tell of a farmer whose livestock vanished one winter night. He followed the hoof prints through the frost, down the hill, across the grass, toward the loch. But at the shoreline, the tracks changed. Where hoof prints should have ended, footprints continued. No return prints were ever found. Kelpies follow a simple rule. They take form of whatever will get you closest to the water. For the lonely, a friendly voice. For the curious, a beautiful horse. For the desperate, a helping hand. For the grieving, a familiar face dripping wet. Folklorists argue that the Kelpie is symbolic, a personification of the deep, dangerous water. And perhaps they're right. Cold lochs swallow riders. Hidden currents pull wanderers off balance. Silence covers tragedy better than soil ever could. But even if the Kelpie is only a story, why do so many claim to hear their own name whispered near bridges? Why do lone travelers describe horses that vanish into the water? Why do footprints sometimes lead you into lochs and never come back out? Most legends survive not because they're fantastical, but because they feel like the shape of something real. Something watching, something waiting, something that knows patience better than any living thing. Skeptics often point out that many Kelpie stories most likely begin as explanation for real-world tragedies. A child falling into the river while playing. A rider misjudges the depth of a crossing and is swept away. A drunk wanders too close to the loch at night and never comes back. It is easier, sometimes, to say the Kelpie took him than to accept that the world is a place where water waits patiently and does not care who slips. But even when you strip away these superstitions, one thing remains. The water is dangerous. It changes with the weather, with the tide, with the unseen currents beneath the surface. It hides its depths. It holds on to what falls into it. The Kelpie is a mask that we place on that danger. A face we give to the feeling when you stand too close to the edge and your mind whispers, jump. Lean just a little further. See how cold it really is. Not because you want to leave this world, but because part of you wants to know how far you can go before something pulls you under. As long as there are deep waters, there will be stories like this. Kelpies might not walk out of the loch in horse form. They might not whisper your name from beneath ancient bridges, but the feelings they embody are very real. The lure of the unknown, the dangerous calm of the surface, the quiet voice that invites you just one step too far. So the next time you find yourself alone by a river at dusk or standing alone on a lakeside path at night, listen. If the water seems to call your name, if you notice a dark shape on the far bank that wasn't there a moment ago, if a stranger with wet hair and pale eyes offers to walk with you, remember the old warnings. My name is Viktor Corvin. And if the creepy, mysterious, and the macabre speak to you, the Afterveil is the place that you're looking for. Now, talking about folklore spirits, do consider watching the previous episode where we get in depth regarding the Strigoi, vampires older than Dracula himself, but draining in an entirely different way. Echoes of what they once were, but still drawn to their earthly attachments. I would also like to invite you into the comment section. Do let me know which is your favorite episode so far and what would you like to see in future episodes. Keep your lanterns lit. Until next time.